everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's after school club for Make It. My name is Kim. I am a community learning specialist here with Do Space, and today is going to be our part 4 in finishing up our fun little plush monster. So if you've been following along with us for the last couple weeks, through the month of March, we have been making this really fun plush sewn circuit monster. So we have sewn our circuit, and we have not finished up sewing it, so I can kind of open this up a little bit. I might take my fluff out even. So I can always put it back in. So we can see sort of how we have our LED light there. We have our battery holder. All the way kind of back there is our button, which I'm pressing in its little hand. And yeah, we have used conductive thread and sewable circuit components to make our sewn circuit. So if you have been following along with us and have one of our kits, hopefully you got your little guide to your little monster to light up. If you saw me last week, I kind of sewed on now I'm thinking like it's an eye. Now I feel like I need a mouth. But I did add the other yellow part in his ear, in its ear. So I'm feeling good about that. But today we are just going to be basically finishing up this, finishing up our little plush monster. So hopefully we'll get it all done today. I think we will. So I'm actually going to put some of my fluff in. So kind of where we left off is, well, we can see that we kind of started down here, at least in my template. Now, if you got one of our kits that were available for reservation, if you got reserved one of our kits, you will know that you had some felt and some yarn, or not yarn, the thread and conductive thread on the components, and then obviously the 2 templates. You obviously could have made and like kind of draw on your own template to make your own style of monster. If you did this particular template, you could have really started sewing anywhere. I started at the right foot, and now I'm going to be putting in a little bit of fluff, and just to kind of make it a little bit easier to get into kind of like the little ear crev and his little hand, so, and still make sure that the button is, and so it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can kind of see last week we kind of talked about 2 different types of stitches to finish him up. We did the running stitch and kind of like this around, like kind of around the way, like a little bit of, I think it's called a blanket stitch. To be honest, there's a very good chance this was called something else. And now I'm thinking like a blanket stitch is something else. Regardless, both are fine. I am liking the way my running stitch is looked. So you can kind of see it kind of came undone. And the nice, not undone, but just kind of loosened with me opening it up. You can kind of see the threads. The nice thing about it, I can just go like boop, and it tightens back up really nicely. So I can tighten it up just enough so it doesn't like crinkle, but it makes a nice little seam around our guys. So we are going to be finishing this up today. So I obviously have my needle no longer threaded, so kind of as a reminder, I'm going to move these scissors. A nice really easy way is to kind of wrap the thread. Sorry if I call it yarn, I work with yarn a lot too, so wrap the thread around your needle and kind of pull it down tight so it makes this little, almost like a little loop. And I like to put it at the very tips of my fingers and kind of squeeze it, and so then it really makes it easy. And with this tapestry needle with a nice big eye, it should be pretty easy to thread your needle again. So yeah, so I am going to be again doing our running stitch, and some reminders of our running stitch. We're basically just going from the front to the back, and then from the back to the front. And so like this, especially because we have like the 2 different pieces, we cut out aren't going to match up perfectly, but I want to make sure they're matching up enough. And so I just want to, especially with this ear, I'm just kind of looking from the top, just making sure that things are lined up. I'm trying to avoid it being like this, trying to sew it kind of off center. You can see this part is a bit lower, or like this, where it's kind of hard to tell with the same color, but you want your extremities to kind of line up. So I'm just making sure that my ears kind of line up. And like I said, I last week I added on, or sometime this week, last week I added on my second ear, and I got it kind of close to my edge, which is fine. If it comes through my earpiece, it's not going to be the end of the world. But yeah, we're just doing back to front to back with the stitches fairly, a little bit close together. You don't want too big of a gap in between your where you're placing your needle, just because then the bigger the gap, the more likely. I'm just trying to get it. I want to get it through the point on both these ears. Did I think that's good. If there's too big of, like, for example, like right now my thread is coming to coming up from the back at the very kind of tippy tip point of my ear. If I brought my needle and I went all the way, there's a lot of space. If I did it all the way, then there's going to be a pretty big gap like that where, fluff can come out. And so you just want to make sure that your running stitches are fairly close together. Or if you're doing the kind of around the edge stitch, which you are more than welcome to do, because sometimes that happens and sometimes that happens inadvertently, like, oh, I didn't mean to be doing that, because sometimes it's just, you get into a motion where sometimes it's a little bit easier to just go from back to front, or front to back, front to back. I don't know, right now I'm digging the aesthetic of my running stitch. So hopefully, and basically when you're learning like this running stitch, it's a really great beginner stitch to learn how to hand stitch things. From here you could think about sewing on, if you have a patch that you want to sew on to maybe clothes, you can do that. If you need to sew on a button, basically sewing on a button, a lot of times there's 2 or 4 holes in a button, and basically it's just going back, doing an X, or kind of, back and forth in that button. And so if you ever lose a button, you are now kind of have the knowledge a little bit of sewing that on, which is always I think sewing, it's just it's a good life skill to have. And I don't know, for example, I don't have a sewing machine, and back last spring when we were kind of still in the unknown kind of knowledge of what COVID was like, and what's going on, what do we know, what do we not know, but we were just kind of we kind of know a little bit that we need to be wearing a mask. I did not have a sewing machine, but I had a lot of fabric, and so what I did was I was able to hand sew my mask, because I could have bought one. Absolutely, I probably could have bought one. I know a lot of people, but I feel like it was back in April, and there's a lot of how to make your own mask, and so I was like, I can do that, and I still wear it. I'm actually wearing it today. That is my mask I'm wearing today, my hand sewn mask. So it's nice whenever if things come into an emergency, You know, it was a little bit, I didn't know how long it would take for a mask to come in or anything like that. If I bought it off Etsy, another handmade and, you know, hand sewn one, but I didn't need to. I just hand sewed it. So we are just making our way around. And so I am getting to the point where I have a little bit of a hole left. So we're going to be getting pretty close to here. I'm actually going to be adding, for me, I'm going to be adding a little bit more fluff because I'm going to kind of fill in now that I've got my leg, or sorry, my arm and my ear, my other arm and ear. I'm going to take a little bit more of my fluff and just, you know, a little bit at a time, I can kind of just stuff it up into the ear area, you know, and then maybe a little, and if you got one of our kits, I totally gave you guys too much fluff. But if you wanted to, maybe you don't have the components to make the light up effect, but you might have cloth or other types of felt that you can make another, just not, you know, not light up, not a sewn circuit one, but just another little plush monster, which would be fun. So you probably have enough fluff to make another one. Or to make it, you know, maybe your own little stuffed animal. It doesn't have to be a little monster. Maybe you can find a template for your favorite animal, or maybe your friend's favorite animal, a sibling's favorite animal, and just have, yeah. So I'm going to see. I want my little ears just to be a little bit more fluffy. I'm not getting it all the way up, but that's okay. I'm feeling good about the level of plump in my, so I'm going to be putting just a little bit more in. I don't want to overstuff it because then it'll be kind of hard. So probably what I'm going to do is stuff it a little bit more just up here, and then I'm probably going to then just leave like kind of in between its legs, open up a little bit, and then I can put some more fluff in after, just to maybe get the legs done. So okay, so I'm feeling good about that level of fluff. Let's see. Okay, so I have my yarn in the back, so I'm going to be going, see, and you don't want to stuff it too much too soon, because now I want to try and avoid having, you know, little fluff fibers coming out the edges, and then I kind of have to really hold it together, which kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. So I may have overstuffed it a little bit, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to kind of keep everything in line, because it tends to, if it's overstuffed, it tends to want to open back up. And that makes it a little bit harder to sew, but I think we're gonna get it. So we're just gonna come right around to his other leg, and this, yeah, we're going to be finishing up pretty quickly. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Well, and while, you know, if you have been watching, and, you know, if you've been watching our after school club or any of our other programs, you can sign up to be part of our Bean Stack program. Bean Stack is, let's see, just a second. You can, if you sign up for an account, I'll put that in the chat. If you sign up for Bean Stack and you've been watching any of our after school programs, whether it's this one or Make It or Code It, then you can say, hey, I watched that program, I participated in that program, and then it'll get you signed up for it. You can get tickets, and then you can put those tickets towards like winning a prize. So it's like kind of like a raffle. So make sure you're doing that at our Beanstack website. Okay, so now I have a little bit done. Now I'm just going to take, I'm like really teeny tiny amounts, like not much. And I just want to kind of get some in the leg areas because I want to make sure that the legs are, and so, and also, you know, I'm just going to be kind of pushing them things kind of over in the legs. And if I need to, I can kind of rearrange. We can kind of move things as we need to a little bit. So I'm going to close that back. Now I'm just going to be making sure that with my my thumb and index finger that I'm just keeping the rest of the seam closed. And just going to be coming around so that we can meet up where we began last week when we started sewing our monsters together. And look at that, we have plenty of thread left. I was really hoping I gave you enough. I was like, oh, look at that. I pulled, just make sure. Okay, pulled my thread out from my needle. So get that re-threaded. Okay. Okay, friends, and hopefully you are getting close to being done as well. Keep catching. So I think, oh my goodness, my thread keeps catching on its little arms. I think I'm going to do that and then pop over. Oh my goodness. Arm, get out of here. Okay, so then I think what I'm going to do, so yeah, there we go. And so now you can kind of like adjust. You can kind of push a little bit where you want your fluff to go. Might try and get it down there a little bit in its legs. So yeah, but kind of flatten them out, get it in its arms. But there we go. We have our little sewn guy. So to finish off, I'm just actually gonna kind of do the same thing that we have been doing in terms of what we've been doing when we've been tying off for all of our other components is kind of, I'm going to try and just go through this back layer. I'm not trying to get through the front to the front. I'm just going to try and go through the back layer, but kind of just do that little bit where I bring my needle through, but not pull it all the way through. I want to leave this little hole or a loop, and I'm putting my thread through the loop and just kind of tying off and doing that maybe one more time. So putting my needle through that loop and pulling it tight, and then boom, it should be a nice tight. Now I can kind of clip this off, and voila, you should be done with your little plush monster. So a lot of fun. I'm a huge fan of sewn circuits. I think there's just like a lot of things you can do with them. If I know a lot of times if you're into making your own costumes, if like you're really into Halloween, sewn circuits are really cool. And there's different components that you can program or code to like blink in different ways or different patterns or have things come up. You can even have like kind of like a pixel board, you know, say if this is, you know, if we have this as like a grid, if you kind of think of this as like a grid, where you can make your own kind of pixelated image, and then have that showing, things like that. if you're really into Iron Man, you could like potentially make your own kind of like glowing chest thing. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things. So a website, you can get a lot of these online. We use a website called Kittronics, and I'll put that in the chat. It's actually, I think I've talked about this before. It's a UK, it's a British Kittronics. Is that right? I think. Let me just doubly check. So a UK, a British company, and no, that's not right. Sorry, I'm just making sure I get you the right website. Um, and they ship to the US. I mean, we get our stuff like within days. It's really nice. Um, and we just do a lot of we get a lot of stuff from Kittronics. So another um, another website is Adafruit. You can get some things from there. I'll put that. Let's see. I'll put that in the chat. So like Adafruit is really great. And yeah, there's just a lot of fun things that you can do with it. So hopefully this has kind of inspired you to make maybe things of your own. Kittronic, that's what I'm looking for. Here we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm like Kittronic. I was try to put an X on the end. Anyway, so if you're interested in like buying some more circuits, we get our conductive thread from there, our components that are really sewable and friendly. There are other like battery holders that you can get cheaper technically, but they're not very easy to use. They're like these little, like they're beige colored, and the little holes that you would get to sew through are so tiny, so you have to have like a really, really small needle to get through it, and it's like it's not user friendly. Where obviously these were, they had the really large holes that we could sew into, and really, really just like user friendly. So if you're interested in making some more of these, I highly suggest like either of those websites to do that. So hopefully this will inspire you to do some like other sewing or other sewn circuit activities. Please, if you've been watching us for the last couple of weeks, would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you. See what you think of the series. See what you think of our other after school club things. So if you would like to give us your feedback and fill out this survey, I just put it in the chat. Please do. If you fill it out, you are entered to win a monthly drawing for a $20 Amazon gift card. So hopefully we would love to hear what your thoughts are about our programming. So yeah, so next week, so that's it for today. A little bit short but sweet. So hopefully you got it finished up. Again, if you have any questions or if you need any further help, please email me, Kim. You can email me at programs@dospace.org, and so I can hopefully answer any questions that you might have about your project. If you had any circuit issues, or if you want any suggestions on like what to buy for kits, I am more than willing to help you with that. So next week we're going a little bit old school, a little bit retro. We are going to be doing macrame, which if you are unfamiliar with macrame, it is a very old art. It sounds French. I think the French, I don't know. Macrame is a French word, but I was reading about it. It goes all the way back to like the Phoenician times. So it's a very old way of like making kind of like things out of knots. So like it's not so much fabric, we're going to be making a keychain and we're going to be making a bracelet, but the bracelet's going to be a little bit special because we're going to be using binary code to you're going to be using binary code with beads to spell out the first initial of your name or whatever letter you want. But I've been doing the first initial of my name, so that's that's going to be my my example of how I'm showing you. So hopefully the sign up for that is on our website at dospace.org. And so if you would like to sign up for that, you can do that. There's a few kits left. And so I think there's like 15 kits taken, and we give out 20. So if you are interested in doing that, please go to our website at dospace.org and go to our calendar. And then if you go to our April Make It, you should be able to find the link to the form. Let me find that really actually. Click just in case you would like to do that. So as of right now, the March 31st, 2021, there are I think there's like 15 taken, so there's about 5 that are left and available. So hopefully if you like this, you can where is the sign up for it? Let's see. That is a good question. I thought it was on our website. Well, if you're interested in it, email me at programs@dospace.org. Anyway, so you guys, thank you so much for joining me for the last couple weeks. And we will be doing a 3-week stint in April. I know there's 4 Wednesdays, but there's going to be a week that we're kind of doing some other programming for DoSpace. So we will be skipping a week in the middle of April. So we'll be doing 2 weeks to do the bracelet, I think, and 1 week to do the keychain. So awesome. Well, friends, thank you so much for joining me again. Hopefully we will see you next time. So have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.